When it comes to racing games on the Nintendo 64, there are two titans that rule over all of them, Mario Kart 64 and Diddy Kong Racing. These games are fantastic, but while these two are hogging up all the spotlight, there are actually a lot of other great Nintendo 64 racing games. Cruisin' USA, Rave Racer, Beetle Adventure Racing, come on, tell me this one doesn't deserve a remaster. But the game I want to talk about in today's video is one that holds a very special place in my heart because it was actually the very first video game I ever played. And that game is none other than
Hot Wheels Turbo Racing!
Developed by Stormfront Studios and published by EA back when that wasn't a bad thing, Hot Wheels Turbo Racing released for the PlayStation and the Nintendo 64 in 1999. The two versions are a bit different. The general consensus is that the PlayStation version is better, thanks to the use of CD-ROMs over cartridges providing better graphics and audio, but I'll be honest, I'm not seeing it. The graphics look very grainy compared to the Nintendo 64, especially when other cars are on screen. And the sound effects sometimes sound better, like when you're going through a tunnel, you can actually hear the echoes. Other times, it sounds like someone put syrup in my speakers. The PlayStation version does have 3 additional tracks to race on, but overall, I personally enjoyed the Nintendo 64 version more, and that's the one that I played as a kid, so I'll be playing that version for this video. But we're not just going to be playing this game and reviewing it. I'm also going to be getting every single achievement in this game using Retro Achievements, a platform that adds achievement support to classic games through the power of emulators and modern technology. There are a total of 63 achievements in this set, and we will be getting every single one of them. But unlike my previous retro achievement hunting videos, we're going to be going into this one completely blind. I haven't touched this game in over 20 years, so this will no doubt be a unique experience compared to my last 2 videos where I play games that I beat dozens of times. So does this game hold up by today's standards, or is it just being carried in my heart by nostalgia? Well, we're gonna find out. If you're new to the channel, my name is Nostalgic Juice. I'm on a quest to get all the achievements for all the classic games that I grew up with. If you enjoy achievement hunting videos like this, make sure you subscribe so you can join me on the journey. With that said, it's time to start our engines and play some Hot Wheels Turbo Racing. To get my bearings, I decided to just do a single race on all the available tracks while trying out some of the cars. One thing I really like about this game is every track is a nice blend of the nostalgic striped plastic Hot Wheels tracks and racing on the surrounding environment. As of now, we have 6 tracks to choose from and they're all pretty decent. There wasn't one that I hated. My favorite of all of them is Helicrash because you have this really cool half-pipe section, and then when you come down, you're actually driving against the flow of traffic, which I think is really cool. Since we're just getting started though, I'll explain some basic stuff about the game. Obviously, it's a racing game, so the goal is to win the races, but it's not enough to simply just be fast. Every time you go off a jump, you can perform tricks, and landing them fills your turbo meter, which you can use to give yourself a speed boost. The turbo mechanic is very important to this game, hence why they named the game after it, so you'll want to be mindful of how you use it. For example, during the off-road sections, your car goes a lot slower, so you don't want to be caught here without boosts. Turbo is also a great recovery option for when you get spinned around or you didn't land a jump right, so performing tricks to keep our boost meter full is a must. And the tricks aren't like a set animation. You can freely spin or flip as many times as you think you can while still landing on all 4 wheels. And this freedom is incredibly fun. I even got our first achievement by doing enough spins off one jump to kickstart our challenge. In fact, I even got a second achievement for letting the turbo meter fill all the way up. Being in full control of how many flips and spins I can do, I think really adds a nice skill expression to the game, offering a risk versus reward because the more tricks you pull off, the more turbo you'll get, which leads to better times. But if you go too overboard, you might not land the tricks, or worse, you'll take a ramp with too much speed and then end up flying off the rails. Then there are power-ups. Unlike games like Mario Kart where the items are things like projectiles or speed boosts that you'll activate manually, these power-ups apply passive effects. Gyro makes you more aerodynamic so you can do more flips and spins in the air. The hammer gives you a strength boost, letting you destroy other cars just by touching them. The rubber makes other cars get destroyed when they try running into you. Sticky tires improves your handling. The 4x4 lets you go off-road without slowing down. Turbo boost adds 1 to your turbo meter. Super brakes let you stop on a dime, but I don't know why you would want to do that. This is a racing game. Stopping is like the opposite of that. And this last power-up is the best one, which increases your handling, speed, and acceleration. And then of course there's also a random power up which will give you one of these at random. And finally, while racing, we have to keep an eye out for secrets. There are shortcuts and secret areas that will not only save us time on our laps, but there's actually hidden collectibles that give us new cars, but don't blink or you'll miss them. Did you see the collectible just now? No? Let's play it back. Collecting all the cars is obviously something we're going to have to do for achievements, but we'll come back to these later. For now, we picked up our first few achievements, one for winning our first race, one for winning a race without using any turbos, one for winning a race on the hardest difficulty, and one for winning a race while being in the first person point of view the entire time, which I already hate this in regular racing games, but considering that you spend half the race spinning and flipping, I can't imagine anybody would willingly choose to play like this. I'm getting sick just watching. Now that I've done a few races, I'm starting to get the hang of things. Gameplay wise, the game controls really well for an old Nintendo 64 racing game. There were times where the handling did feel a little stiff, but I can write that off to skill issues. I'm not like clipping into walls or glitching through the map, so the gameplay is pretty solid for the most part. And it was fun learning where all of the jumps and trying to figure out what's the most tricks I can pull off on them, even if I don't always land on my feet. It does get chaotic at times with the AI constantly bumping into you and trying to run you off the road, but that's just part of the fun. With the practice runs done, it was time to tackle the Hot Wheels Cup, which is basically what I just did, except this time our score carries over after each race. The races are now also 6 laps long versus 4 laps in the single race mode, and I found that to be pretty tedious. These tracks are fun, but there's not enough going on to keep it interesting for 6 whole laps. There are some destructible environments that'll open up alternative paths or shortcuts, so you could argue that each lap will be a little bit different, but I think that works just as well with the 4-lap races. Spending more time on each track though did lead me to discover some new hidden cars, but getting these cars is harder than it looks, and one of our achievements is for winning every race in the cup, so I didn't want to risk losing trying to detour for them. The achievement set is pretty generous though. We only have to beat the cup on the normal difficulty, which I was able to do on my first attempt, so it wasn't too bad. And I appreciate that, because with 6 laps each, it took me about 45 minutes to finish it, and it would have sucked if I lost the last race and had to start over. So props to the achievement devs for not making this one that requires the hardest difficulty. Not that it was all smooth sailing, like I said I haven't played this game in 20 years, so there were definitely some moments I struggled with.
No can do.
What do you mean no can do? Yeah, I can do this.
Don't even think about it.
I'm gonna think about it. See, we made it. I got this. It only took 20 goddamn tries. All right, here we go. Upside down. Okay, that's fine. I can probably, yeah, we're good. I got this. But after all that trouble, I managed to win every single race of the Hot Wheels Cup, getting us 2 achievements in the process, as well as recognition for my mad skills. We also unlocked 3 new cars, 2 new tracks, and the secret car cup. Unfortunately, once I did this, I decided to take a break and close the game for a bit. When I came back, I wanted to try out that secret car cup we unlocked, but for some reason it goes back to being locked once you close the game. So you'll have to complete the entire Hot Wheels Cup and the secret cup in the same session. Well, I wasn't about to do all that again, so I decided instead let's try out the Airtime Trials. These are your typical score attack modes where instead of racing, the goal is to perform as many tricks as possible within the time limit. As far as I can tell, spinning, flipping, and rolling are all worth the same points. There are some special tricks you can do by combining them, like let's say a flip and then a spin. Those will be worth more points than if you were to just do 2 spins or 2 flips. However, I found these were usually not worth the trouble. The best trick is to simply do spins, since with flips, you run the risk of not landing the trick, but with spins, you're always going to land on all 4 tires, even if you do end up facing the wrong direction. There are 2 achievements for getting 2,500 and 5,000 points on any of the tracks, and then each track has an achievement for getting to 10,000 points. These weren't too difficult, most tracks have plenty of opportunities to rack up points, and since these aren't races, you can abuse the respawn button. Normally you would use this to reset your car if you find yourself at a bad position at the cost of getting put back further than where you were, but for score attacks we can use this to repeat jumps and farm tricks. This came especially handy on Helicrash. There's not a lot of places to get jumps on this track, but thankfully by using this trick, I just barely made enough points right as the time ran out. The other 7 tracks were a lot easier compared to this one, so we got those achievements easily. With the air trial achievements done, I decided to go back and collect all the hidden cars. Most tracks have 2 hidden cars and we have to collect both of them in one go for that track's achievement. We already grabbed a few cars by this point, but luckily they can be recollected for the sake of achievements. Some of these cars are hidden in very crazy spots, like this one in Dawn Encounter, where we have to take this ramp, but hit the brakes enough so that we slow down and get through this invisible spot behind the waterfall. Older games were pretty infamous for these kind of secrets, and if I can go on a little bit of a side tangent here, I kind of miss stuff like this. You have to remember, this was back before the norm was to just go on YouTube and look up a guide. Unless your parents bought you the Prima Strategy Guide, the only way to find these things is to play the game and discover it by accident, or by hearing rumors on the playground at school. Nowadays, games don't really do stuff like this because game developers probably don't want to spend time on content that some players will miss, and even if they did, every secret just gets spoiled by a YouTube thumbnail or social media post. Pokemon's a good example of this. I used to love playing Pokemon and discovering all the new creatures, but now whenever they make a new Pokemon game, people have all the information data mined. They know exactly what the most optimal competitive team is, even before the game's released. I, for one, miss the whimsy of discovering secrets like this. But anyway, now that I'm done yapping about back in my day, let's get back to our achievements. The second car in Dawn Encounter is in this tunnel behind you after you drop down from this ledge. On Snake River Mine, the first car is located on the minecart tracks. You just gotta time it so you can grab the car before getting blown up by the minecarts. The next one is in this hangar behind you when you drop in. In Road to Rustwell, one can be found immediately at the start by taking the path to the right after the jump, and I don't know why, but I struggled so much on this jump. I spent so much time here that the other cars actually lapped me. Luckily for me, we don't have to actually win these races. Eventually, I made the jump and the car was on the other side, and then the next one was a lot easier after the big jump behind this destructible wall. In Cold Fusion, one car is on this side path after the triple loops, the other car is inside this tunnel behind a destructible wall, stuck in a block of ice that we can only destroy using an off-road type car, which I guess now is a good time to mention this because I had no idea at this point, but some cars don't need the 4x4 power-up, they just have it built in. Those cars tend to be slower and less aerodynamic, so there's a trade-off, but that doesn't really matter for us right now since we're just collecting cars. Helicrash only has one car and it's behind this wall on the half pipe that we can get to by using turbos. And the test track, one of the new maps we unlocked, again only has one part and it's behind this wall inside the dragon's belly. All of these so far have been pretty smooth sailing for the most part, but then I got to the command center. The first car was easy enough through this hidden side tunnel and on the balcony on the other side, but this one was the hardest thing in the game. I almost got it on that very first try, but just barely missed it. Little did I know that would be the closest I would get for a while. I can't even tell how you're supposed to get this one. There's a floating traction power up, so I think you're intended to grab that, then land on the first ledge, then jump to the next one, but yeah, that wasn't happening. This is a good time to mention that I play retro achievements on hardcore mode. That means I use settings to try to closely recreate the experience of playing on the original hardware as possible. So that means I am not using save states. Every time I missed, I had to drive all the way back and set myself back up. I kid you not, this one car took me so long to get.
Adios!
Yeah, adios is right, man. Come on, can you not? That is so rude.
Have mercy!
Yeah, have mercy on me, please. Let me get this car. All right, I'm thinking this car might do good. It's got a longer body, so we might be able to...
Losing it!
Yeah, I am losing it. I actually am.
Stay on it!
Brother, I'm trying to stay on it. I decided to look in the comments on retro achievements for some help, and people were suggesting to use the Lakester. So I switched to that, and this car was feeling a lot better suited for this. It took a few more tries, and I decided that I need to start backing up further and try to make it from the very first jump, rather than trying to jump on that first ledge. And finally, after what felt like over an hour of attempts, I just barely made it onto the ledge. You can actually see me hesitate because I was in shock that I actually did it. But once I snapped back to reality, I grabbed the car, getting us the achievement. And what's my reward for all of our effort? The absolute ugliest car I have ever seen in my life. What is this abomination? I ended up using this ugly piece of junk to get the final 2 hidden cars on the second new track that we unlocked, RM Sludgeworks, to get our final hidden cars achievement, and by this point, I was so glad this part of the journey was finally over. With all the hidden cars unlocked, I thought it'd be a good idea to try to rapid fire off some of these achievements. Each hidden car we unlocked has a separate achievement for winning a race with it, and there are also achievements for winning a race on each track within a time limit. I thought maybe it would be a good idea to knock these out at the same time, but the time trials were proving to be quite difficult. I tried several times across multiple tracks and cars, I was just not getting any of these time trials. I even looked up some speedruns to get some help, and I found this really cheesy trick in Helicrash where once you get the checkpoint on the half pipe, you can just hit the respawn button, and that takes you all the way back to this ledge, which is faster than driving back. But even with this pro gamer tip to shave off a good chunk of time, I still wasn't fast enough. And I wasn't even close, I was off by a lot. Eventually I was able to get one of them on Dawn Encounter while using the Rockbuster, since it's an off-roading type vehicle so it can take the shortcuts at full speed. So I was able to get a 2-for-1 on that track, but the other ones were just too difficult, so I decided to put a pin in that and go back to redo the Hot Wheels Cup. I was hoping maybe I can still work on some of those achievements for winning with specific cars, but unfortunately that was not the case, as those achievements have to be done in the single race mode. It's not a big deal though, I still did need to replay the cup anyway so I can re-unlock the secret cup, which was a smaller cup with the 2 new tracks that we unlocked, and I still have no idea why it doesn't just stay unlocked. I actually thought maybe I made a mistake, so I went to go look it up, but no, once you close the game, the cups need to be re-unlocked. It's not like the Nintendo 64 has memory limitations. The cars, your high scores, the tracks, those all get saved, so it was a really weird decision by the developers. Beating the secret cup without losing a race gets us our next 2 achievements. We also unlocked 2 new cars, the Twin Mills 1 and 2, as well as another cup, the Twin Mill Challenge, where we face off against 2 computers using these cars. And these cars are definitely the best in the game. They can reach the top speed without even having to use a turbo. And these computers were no joke either. This was actually a really hard challenge. You have to play very well to beat these guys. One wrong move and they will take the lead. And I'm not even talking about just crashing or anything. Here I accidentally took a slower path by taking the loop instead of the jump to the right, and that was enough for me to lose my lead. These guys are hot on your tail the entire time. Fortunately by now, I'm pretty good at the game by this point, and I even pulled off this really sick recovery by backwards boosting over the ramp and then flipping around. With epic gaming skills like that, I managed to defeat them, getting us another achievement, and then our final car unlock, the Toe Jam. Now that we have the Twin Mill cars, beating the time trials was a lot easier. You still need to use the shortcuts and play well, but you can afford a mistake or two. These cars reaching top speed without using a turbo is great because you can save your turbos and then use them when they're more effective. You can see your speed in the top left corner, so pretty much whenever that number goes low, that's when you'll use a turbo. With the Twin Mill, I was able to beat every time trial on the first attempt, except for one, which was the hardest of them all, Snake River Mine. The reason why this one was so hard is there's a very difficult shortcut which requires us to precisely hit the brakes as we take this jump, so we slow down enough to land inside this tunnel. If we hold the brakes too long, we can still get inside, but that's slower. And if we don't hold the brakes long enough, not only do we miss the shortcut, but now we've slowed down for nothing. This isn't an insignificant shortcut either, it cuts out this entire chunk of the track, so I absolutely have to do this with all 4 laps, you really can't skip one. And this track also has the minecart section, which is pretty much RNG, you can't really time the minecarts. As I said earlier though, thanks to the Twin Mills being so fast, you can afford a few mistakes here, but I would go as far as to say this was the hardest achievement in the set, at least for me it was. Even though I still spent more time trying to get that stupid car from earlier. With the time trial achievements done, it was time to clean up those achievements for winning with the unlocked cars. And yes, that unfortunately means I have to use this ugly thing again. Like, come on, the wheels aren't even attached to the car. They don't even want to be associated with this thing. Road to Rustwell is the shortest track, so I just played this one over and over again until I got the achievement for each car, until I got them all. A bit of a grind, but it wasn't too bad, and it did check off a total of 14 achievements. Next up is the cheat codes to get us the next 4 achievements. You can enter cheat codes in the menu to unlock some special races. The first one we did was mirrored mode, which flips the tracks, which makes things feel a little awkward, but aside from that, it's a pretty normal race. The next one makes all the textures transparent, which I thought was really cool. I don't think I've ever seen this kind of a cheat code in any game I've ever played, though it did make it a bit harder to see where I was going. The best one was the infinite turbos cheat. Combine that with the twin mills and we beat the track in record time. And then the last one was one that makes the cars go in stealth mode, which I don't actually know what that does. The race played pretty normal, I couldn't really tell much of a difference, but completing all these gets us another 4 achievements. At this point, I thought that I only had one more achievement left for winning with the Toe Jam car that we unlocked last, but for some reason, there are 7 achievements for winning with this specific car. I'll be honest, I have no idea why. Aside from being the last one that you unlock, there isn't anything special about it. It's not a particularly good or a bad car, though I did manage to lose once, but that was more so due to carelessness, not because it was challenging. I did get this clip and I have no idea what happened, but I thought it was funny enough that I had to include it for the video. And then on Command Center, I had a really close call again just due to me being careless, but I managed to save it. Aside from those, these Toe Jam achievements were just the same as any other race. But if you think about it, it was just a nice victory lap around all the tracks one last time. And after crossing the finish line on the final track, I got the last achievement and we have officially mastered Hot Wheels Turbo Racing, making this our 3rd mastery on retro achievements. So now that I've played the game extensively, do I think it holds up or is it just nostalgia? I will admit it wasn't as fun as I remembered, however I still do consider it to be an overall decent game if you like arcade racing games. It's no Mario Kart or Diddy Kong Racing, but I like that it's not really trying to be those games. Learning all the spots to maximize tricks or the secret shortcuts, some of which were surprisingly difficult to pull off, made for a very unique racing game that was more about style than speed. If anything, it was just a fun game to master on retro achievements, and I'm glad I got to revisit it. It definitely brought back some nostalgic memories. And hey, it beats the new Hot Wheels games, unless you like spending $30 each on 2 season passes for a game that like 10 people are still playing online. I also got to experience something new, as I've also been going for the achievements on the PlayStation version as well. And while I still think the Nintendo 64 version is better, the PlayStation version does have 3 new tracks that I never got to try out as a kid. And while the achievement lists are similar, there are some unique challenges exclusive to the PlayStation set, such as beating a race without hitting the gas pedal just by using turbos. These type of achievements I absolutely love because they encourage you to challenge yourself in a way that you might not have thought to on your own. I thought about maybe going for both masteries in one video, but Retro Achievements is actually doing a community event right now for racing games, so I didn't want to spend too long on this one. But maybe I'll stream my quest for the PlayStation achievement set, so make sure you drop me a follow on Twitch TV/NostalgicJuice if you want to see me play classic and obscure games like this live. And that brings us to the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been working very hard trying to put out a video like this once a week, and these do take a lot of work to make, and I'm still a small-time YouTube channel. I'm not even making any ad revenue or anything. But you can help change that by remembering to like and subscribe, as well as leaving a comment down below. You can comment anything you want. Tell me your favorite Hot Wheels car growing up. Recommend a game to play next. Do one of those old school copy and paste memes that everybody used to do. Any comment helps tell YouTube that this video is worth pushing out to others. And it helps me on my mission to spread good game awareness to combat the plague of AAA slop. Also, if you want to compare games or you want to see what games I'm playing currently, feel free to follow me on Retro Achievements. Once again, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. Until next time, keep on drinking that nostalgic juice. No, that's still dumb. Okay, how about until next time, stay bendy, gamers. You know, like the bendy straw in a juice box? No? Okay, screw it. I still don't know how to end a video. Here's a montage of cars blowing up.